I'm a classical trainer, and that means that everything I do in the light of famous dressage philosophers. I want to talk to you about 3 of them today. Eldridge Cleaver is one, Aretha Franklin is the second, and Ronald Reagan is the third, and it has everything to do with how you lead your horse around.
I like the snap halters rather than the buckle ones. And you put this over his head like this, and you can see he's already trying to dive down and eat anything that he can. He was gelded very late, so he thinks he's still a stallion in most regards. And what he does is this horse will generally want to chew on anything, including a person. There's 2 ways to handle it. You can get mean and you can constantly yell at him, or just pick your battles wisely and know he's going to play with something. So normally what I do is I'll let him just grab the lead for a little while and let him just get his playfulness out, and then we know it's work time.
Whenever I open a door, any horse that I'm dealing with, whether it's one that I know or not, I have to make sure the horse is looking at me. I don't go into a horse's stall if the horse's hind end is at me, in my direction. Well, that's, I don't want to get kicked.
Zeus is not the horse who's going to run me over because he wants to get out, so I don't necessarily have to lock the door. But if you can sort of, keep your door semi-secured if you have a horse that would possibly want to get past you. Zeus is not the problem halter horse, but if you do have a problem halter horse who doesn't like to have the halter put on, what you should do is you take your lead line, not with the buckle part, you keep that in your hand, and put that lead line just over their neck so that you have something in your hand. You don't even necessarily have to hold it, but should they try to get away from you, you just have something to say, no, just stay here with me.
And I like to put a rope around their neck because I want to get in a position where if he tries to get from me, I can safely stop that from happening.
So the biggest thing whenever you lead a horse, you never grab the halter here, and you never leave a long space here because you can see the horse can turn and get behind you.
Eldridge said, if you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem. And what that means is every single second you're training your horse, whether you mean to or not. You may be training her to totally ignore you, step on you, treat you like a dope, or you may be training her to be the horse of your dreams. But regardless, every time you're holding on to her, you're teaching her something.
Sometimes they're excited to get out, so they're coming out of their stall a little peppier than you might expect. So make sure everything is open and that they have plenty of free space to make their corner or wherever it is you're leading them.
When I lead him, I'm going to not drag him out. I'm not going to hold him together. I'm going to expect him to come with me. I have the rope here and I have the rope here, not here. Okay? If he wants to take me, he's got me. We're not going to get into a wrestling match with this horse. We're going to hold here. If he pulls away, I simply pull him back. I teach him to stay in his space. I don't make him stay in his space. Okay, when I walk out, I want to make sure that the door is completely open. We don't want the horse to hit his hip. I don't want to be jammed between the horse and the door, which, we've all seen that happen. And then I'm going to walk out and I'm going to make sure that I get out here first and he follows me.
You walk the horse straight out of the stall. Make sure they have enough clearance before you turn them. The worst thing that you can do is turn the horse too tight, too fast, and they bang their hip. Now, with this horse, what we've worked on the most is whenever I stop, he has to stop. So sometimes it takes us about 20 minutes to a half hour to get out the bar in the right way, but he has to behave and he has to show me that he wants to stand.
And come forward. Good. And ho. Most of the time it's a good idea to take your horse out of the stall and make him whoa for a moment so that the horse never gets in a habit of running out. You don't want him to get
Aretha says R-E-S-P-E-C-T. And as I start to work with a horse, I want to make sure that she or he respects a space that I establish for myself, and that then I establish a limit of a space in which she's allowed to inhabit and not be bothered. So if I try to lead the horse by having a death grip like this, one or the other of us is going to be unhappy. If I try to let the horse lead me around and do what she feels like, different version of the same problem.
Teaching a horse to lead, it's not drag the horse along, it's walk. If the horse, if I stop, horse stops. Horse doesn't stop, I'm going to pop him in the chest a little bit to say, don't walk beyond me, okay? I'm not going to, you see how I'm putting him back, but then I'm leaving him alone to make the choice.
And then again, I'm going to stop him before I leave the barn, because one of the things he used to do is come out of the barn and play when he got down to the bottom of the hill, which was never very safe either. So with the lead extra right here, you never ever put it through your hand. You never ever put the lead up and over your shoulder like that, ever. The lead has to be coiled so you don't step on it, but so that you can let it go if you have to. You can never get caught up in this. I've seen too many people get drugged.
I've seen people who, because a horse is the size animal that they are, basically say, okay, well now, you know, I gotcha. Now you wrap that lead line, now you got him no matter what. This could be very, very bad. Never, never do this.
Now the first thing you want to do if you have a horse that is anxious to be turned out, the best thing to do is come out before you turn the horse out and unlatch your gate. Don't swing the gate open, but at least unlatch it. More accidents have happened while you have an impatient horse, especially if it's cold and they're frisky, and you're trying to fumble with the gate and you're holding your horse with one hand and reaching forward, and that just doesn't always work. So with this particular gate, I just always unchain it, I swing it open.
Max has been inside all morning and he's probably eager to get out and play. And as much as Max is my friend, I also have to respect that he's a horse and his brand of play can hurt me if I'm in the way. So I'm going to hang on to Max, I'm going to open up my paddock here. When I walk Max in, see, you can see that Max is frisky. And there's, you know, reason to be. It's a breezy day, he's been inside, he wants to play. I cannot let Max run me over. I'm going to walk him in. You see how if I had had a hold of that halter, Max would have maybe pulled on me.
At the paddock, so as with stall doors, make sure you can open everything up. Get everything out of the way, your gate, your however you fasten it, any obstacles in the way. Make sure you open it nice and wide so that everybody can get through safely without it swinging back. And walk. Many times, because they're excited, they buck and kick and run as they go, which is natural. You can't reprimand them for being happy about getting turned out, and I never do. However, I try to keep myself out of harm's way, and when you lead a horse into a paddock, and I really don't care what horse it is and how many times he's been let out, this is the way you do it.
Then I turn them around and have them face me, and then I make them stand a second. And once they stand, that tells them that they're going to be released soon, but that they have to wait. Wait. Then I unclip just the snap, if you have a snap halter, or undo the buckle, and you can see he's getting a little antsy, so now he's going to have to wait. And with my hand on his nose, stop. You can, this is perfect. Come over here. It's very impatient when it comes to this. I'm standing off to the side. I take off his halter and I step back. And the reason why you step back when you do that is lots of times the horse will turn and spin and kick at you, and that's not necessarily a good thing.
I like to do it this way because I don't want Max leaving me and turning around and kicking in the air and being frisky and me being in the way. So I like to put a rope around the neck. Okay. As I release this halter, Max is going to think he's free. Okay, so I have to be ready. Okay. As I release this, I'm going to release it lightly and I'm holding him. Now, Ho, at this point, when I step away, I'm going to step well out of the way. I'm going to walk away so that Max can play. And that was a pretty good demonstration of why you don't want to be beside the horse as you let him go.
You never face here, horse looking in the direction of run, take the halter off, smack him on the butt and let him fly.
Horse that doesn't like to come to you, always carry some grain, a treat, a little reward for them, so that they feel like they want to come to you and get brought in. But again, we're going to walk over to him and we're going to bring him in. Now, if their rear ends are towards you, that's never a good thing. Just like in the stall, you can surprise them. And never be silent and sneak up on your horse. Never just, always be talking or saying something to him like, hey boy, how you doing, good boy, so that they know that you're there. Because if you don't tell them you're there and the element of surprise hits them, they will kick at you and they will do things that are uncharacteristic. But here, you go ahead and you put the halter on him. It's being so good today. And you go ahead and snatch it. Always attach your lead line before you do this because that's just one more step to do. And again, you want to hold him a safe distance and you want to bring him in. When you lead a horse too, I always tell people, don't look at the horse. Lots of times people look at the horse as they're leading their horse. Two things happen. One, the horse is looking back at you sometimes and they don't think you're taking it very seriously. And the second thing is it's just not very safe to not look where you're going. So look forward, look where you're going. Don't be looking at the horse as you go ahead and bring it in.
We get a lot of different type horses in for training. And some of them you can catch readily, some of them you can't. And I have nothing against having a treat for a horse when I'm trying to catch it. I'll stand out here and whistle to them, or I'll call their name if I know the horse's name. And I'll just reach in the pocket and give the horse a treat, and so the horse will always come to me. He thinks if he comes to me, he's going to get a reward. We have both types of halters. I have some people that love the rope halters, and some people who have the regular flat halters. But again, when I take a hold of this horse, I want to make sure I establish control. I'm just going to back him up a step or two, and then I'll ask him to walk forward with me.
And we're going to come through the gate. And we're going to spin him around. Now I always tell everyone at my farm to always make sure they shut the gate. And the reason why is there are more horse injuries that happen because gates are left partially open. And if a horse should ever get loose and they hit themselves into a gate, it's just not very safe. So you always want to shut the gate for the next horses in the barn. And then you go ahead and lead them on in.
And again, we're just going to keep walking until we get back in the barn. If he was to act silly, I'm going to stop him, reprimand him, and back him up. And the hardest thing for everybody is this horse, I want him to walk at my speed. If I walk fast, I want him to go faster. If I walk real slow, I want him to go real slow.
And how do you teach a horse to do that?
It's the same thing. I'm going to stop, back him up, back forward. And it's almost like a dance. We practice this every day.
So this morning we're going to talk about bringing horses in, and I have two horses. Actually, I have a horse and a very small little pony, and I'm going to show you how to bring them in together in a pair. So I got their halters, and now I'm going to prepare the gate to have it ready so I can take out both in the same time. And my fencing has electric on top of it to keep them from chewing and make it a little bit safer. So I'm going to remove the electric and hang it over to the side. And you want to make sure the electric doesn't touch the gate because the gate is metal and you don't want to get zapped. And then I'm going to go through and I will secure the gate while I'm in the pasture so that they don't get to sneak out until I get them secured with their halters. And George is our smallest horse here. And I will put the halter over his head. Latch it. And I'm going to try to hold him in the same time as I catch his friend. May I have your attention? Come here. She's very hungry. Oh. And I have a lot of hay on her face. Look at that. And I will slide the halter over her head. And make sure it's secured. Now I will take her, because she's the bigger one, in my right hand. And I will take him in my left hand. I'm going to bring them in. I will stop both of them. And I will take both of them in my one hand while I will open the gate. You have to follow, and they're pretty good at this. They've done this a few times before, so they know how to turn with me. I will secure the gate and then get the electric. And hook it back up, because if it's not hooked back up, there's no electric for the next horse's paddock. And he's a good sport just playing around with me turning here. Now make sure they both face the same direction. And turn around, watch out. And we're going to bring them into the stable.
Now why do you lead two at a time?
It saves me time. I have a lot of horses, over 30 horses here at the farm. And to walk each horse back and forth would take a long time on my day, and I'm trying to save time and be efficient. And the horses that are safe and that get along, I bring them in together. If I have a horse that's not very friendly with other horses, they might try to kick the other horse, and then I opt not to take them with a buddy. Then they go in on their own.
Is this something anybody can do?
It's not to recommend when you're just learning handling horses. So in the beginning, when the staff comes here to work here and we'd have interns, I'd only let them take one horse at a time. But as I start seeing they get really experienced and have good judgment, then I can start letting them taking two horses at a time. And I will always let them start with two very kind, seasoned horses that get along really well.
And Ronald Reagan says, trust but verify. Okay? So you give her a chance, but you only give her enough of a chance. You find out if you were right or whether she's fooling you. And if she is, you correct her.